Here's something that might surprise you. A recent study published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships found that approximately 30% of married people don't regularly wear their wedding rings. 30%. That's nearly 1 in 3 married couples where at least one partner has made the choice to go ringless. And here's what's even more interesting. Research from the Marriage and Family Research Institute showed that there's no correlation between wearing a wedding ring and marital satisfaction. Some of the happiest marriages involve people who never wear rings, while some of the most troubled marriages involve people who never take theirs off. So if you're married and you don't wear your ring, you're not alone, and you're not doing anything wrong. But here's what most people don't understand about you. Your choice isn't about hiding your marriage or being unfaithful. It's backed by real psychology, by personal values, practical considerations, and a deep understanding of what commitment truly means to you. And today, we're diving deep into the 10 powerful psychological reasons why some married people choose not to wear rings while others never take them off. Before we explore these 10 fascinating reasons, if you're curious about the psychology behind relationship choices and want to understand what drives people's decisions about marriage and commitment, hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell for Human Psych 101. Every week, we explore the hidden psychology shaping human behavior, the channel where you actually understand what makes people tick. Now, let's dive in. This isn't about judging people who wear their rings religiously. That's a valid choice that deserves respect. This is about exploring the fascinating psychology behind why you might choose not to wear your wedding ring. Because the truth is, your decision reveals something profound about how you define commitment, what symbols mean to you, and what you truly value in your marriage. See, for generations, the wedding ring has been treated as mandatory, the universal symbol of marriage, the visible proof that you're taken, the tradition everyone follows without question. But something has shifted in how we think about marriage symbols. More people than ever are choosing not to wear their rings, not reluctantly, but intentionally. And the psychology behind your choice is complex, nuanced, and deeply personal. 1. You believe commitment is internal, not symbolic. For many people who don't wear rings, the choice comes from a fundamental belief about where commitment lives. Psychologists call this internal locus of commitment. It's when you believe that your dedication to your marriage exists in your actions and feelings, not in external symbols. If this is you, you've probably thought about this deeply. Does a piece of metal make me more committed? Does wearing a ring change how I feel about my spouse? Is my marriage less real without a visible symbol? And for you, the answer is clear. This isn't disrespect for your marriage, it's confidence in your commitment. You know that your faithfulness doesn't depend on jewelry, that your love isn't proven by a ring, that your marriage is defined by how you treat your partner, not what you wear. And that kind of internal certainty is powerful, because most people rely on external symbols to validate their commitment. But you've decided that your marriage doesn't need external proof. It just needs to be real between you and your spouse, and that takes confidence. 2. You have sensory sensitivities or practical concerns. Here's something people often overlook. Sometimes the choice not to wear a ring isn't philosophical at all, it's purely practical. Maybe you work with your hands and a ring is genuinely dangerous. Maybe you have a skin condition and metal causes irritation. Maybe you've lost or gained weight and the ring doesn't fit. Psychologists recognize that sensory processing and practical realities matter. If this is you, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The ring feels constricting, it catches on things, it causes actual physical discomfort. You've tried wearing it and it genuinely bothers you. That's not being difficult, that's respecting your physical needs. You've communicated with your spouse, they understand, and you've both agreed that your comfort matters more than a symbol. That's not prioritizing yourself over your marriage, that's having a marriage secure enough to prioritize practical reality over tradition. 3. You reject traditional gender symbolism. Then there's the feminist and egalitarian perspective. Some people don't wear rings because they've examined the history and found it problematic. Historically, wedding rings for women were symbols of ownership, a visible marker that you belonged to someone. And some people have decided they're not comfortable with that symbolism. Psychologists studying gender and marriage call this critical tradition evaluation. If this is you, you've looked at the history. You've learned that women's rings signified being claimed, that the tradition has roots in property transfer, and you've decided that doesn't align with your values of equality in marriage. You're not rejecting your marriage, you're rejecting outdated ownership symbolism. Your partnership is between equals, and you don't need a symbol with historical baggage to prove your commitment. That's not being difficult, that's being intentional about the symbols you embrace. 4. You value privacy about your marriage status. Here's something interesting. Some married people don't wear rings because they prefer to keep their personal life private, not to deceive anyone, but because they believe their marital status isn't everyone's business. Psychologists call this relationship privacy orientation. If this is you, you don't announce your marriage to strangers. You don't need colleagues to know your personal life. You don't want your relationship status to be the first thing people know about you. You'd rather be judged on your work, your ideas, your character, not on whether you're married. That's not hiding your marriage, that's maintaining appropriate boundaries. You'll tell people about your spouse when it's relevant, but you don't need to broadcast it with jewelry. And in a world where people overshare everything, your privacy is refreshing. 5. You've lost the ring and can't replace it. Then there's the honest, practical reason. Some people don't wear their rings because they lost them and they can't afford to replace them, or the ring has irreplaceable sentimental value that can't be duplicated. Psychologists recognize that financial constraints and sentimental attachment are real. If this is you, maybe you lost your original ring, the one from your wedding day, the one that mattered, and buying a replacement feels wrong. Or maybe replacing it is genuinely outside your budget right now, and you and your spouse have agreed that your marriage matters more than replacing jewelry. That's not neglecting your marriage, that's having financial priorities straight. Your relationship isn't less valid because you can't afford to replace a lost ring. Your commitment doesn't depend on your bank account. 6. You're making a statement about materialism. Here's something philosophical. Some people don't wear rings as a conscious rejection of materialism in relationships. They've looked at wedding ring culture and seen the commercialization, the pressure to buy expensive rings, the diamond industry's manufactured traditions, and they've opted out. Psychologists call this anti-consumerist relationship values. If this is you, you've researched how diamond engagement rings became traditional through advertising. You've learned about conflict diamonds and exploitative mining. You've seen couples go into debt for rings, and you've decided your marriage won't participate in that system. You're not against marriage, you're against the commercial exploitation of marriage. Your relationship is built on love, not luxury goods, and refusing to participate in ring culture is your quiet protest. That's not being cheap, that's being principled. 7. You experienced a difficult marriage before. Then there's the painful truth. Some people don't wear rings in their current marriage because rings have complicated associations from a previous marriage. Maybe you wore a ring in a marriage that ended badly, and now even though you're happily remarried, wearing a ring brings back difficult memories. Psychologists call this trauma-informed symbol avoidance. If this is you, you know that your past marriage hurt you. The ring from that marriage represented something that failed, and even though your current marriage is healthy and happy, wearing a ring triggers those old feelings. Your current spouse understands, they know your history, and they've agreed that your emotional well-being matters more than a tradition. That's not disrespecting your current marriage, that's honoring your healing process. Your commitment is real. You just express it differently because of what you've survived. 8. You don't want to deal with others' assumptions. Here's something social. Some people don't wear rings because they're tired of how others treat them differently based on marital status, the assumptions people make, the different way they're perceived, the questions and comments that come with visible marriage markers. Psychologists call this strategic presentation management. If this is you, you've noticed how people respond to wedding rings, how colleagues treat you differently when they know you're married, how strangers make assumptions about your priorities, your lifestyle, your identity, and you'd rather be seen as a whole person first, not as someone's spouse. You'll share that you're married when it's relevant, but you don't want it to be the defining thing strangers know about you. That's not hiding your marriage, that's controlling your own narrative. 9. Your spouse doesn't wear one either and you're matching. Then there's the mutual decision. Some couples have jointly decided that neither of them will wear rings. It's not one person's choice, it's a shared value. Psychologists call this symmetrical relationship symbolism. If this is you, you and your spouse talked about it. Maybe one of you works in a field where rings are dangerous. Maybe you both prefer minimal jewelry. Maybe you both value internal commitment over external symbols, and you decided together that you'd both go ringless. That's not rejecting marriage traditions out of rebellion, that's creating your own traditions as a couple. Your marriage isn't defined by what everyone else does, it's defined by what works for both of you, and that mutual understanding is beautiful. 10. You believe actions speak louder than symbols. Here's the final reason, and it's something that ringless married people understand deeply. You don't wear a ring because you believe your marriage is proven by your actions, not your accessories. How you treat your spouse, how you honor your vows, how you show up every day. Psychologists call this behavioral commitment orientation. If this is you, you know that a ring doesn't make someone faithful, that wearing a wedding band doesn't prevent betrayal, that the symbol means nothing if the actions don't match. You've seen people who wear their rings and still cheat. You've seen people who never remove their rings but treat their spouses terribly. And you've decided that you'd rather be judged by how you actually behave in your marriage, not by what jewelry you wear. That's not disrespecting marriage, that's understanding what marriage actually is. So where does this leave you? Your choice not to wear your wedding ring is completely legitimate. It's not a sign of unfaithfulness, disrespect, or weak commitment. It's a conscious decision about how you express your marriage. And just like the choice to wear a ring deserves respect, so does your choice not to, because both can represent deep commitment. What matters isn't the ring, what matters is the relationship. You've thought about what commitment means to you. You've communicated with your spouse. You've made a choice that works for your marriage. That's not being unconventional for the sake of it. That's being honest about what actually matters. And maybe in a world that's obsessed with symbols and appearances, your approach is refreshing because you've realized something powerful. A ring doesn't make a marriage. Love does. Respect does. Showing up does. And if you're doing those things without wearing a ring, your marriage is just as real, just as valid, just as committed. You just need honesty, communication, and the confidence to define your marriage on your own terms. So here's my question for you. When was the last time you chose what was right for your relationship over what everyone expected? When did you decide that your marriage would be defined by your actions, not by traditions? That's what you do by not wearing a ring. You choose authentic commitment over symbolic performance. And if this made you think differently about the psychology behind marriage symbols and relationship choices, make sure you're subscribed to Human Psych 101. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our explorations of human behavior. Because every week we dive into the hidden psychology shaping how people love and connect, the channel where you actually understand yourself and others. See you in the next one.